a very common thing to find in metaphysical circles that if someone had a particular type of illness challenge, that you'd get always in some group somebody would, in a rather flippant offhand way, say, "Oh, why did you create that?" We we have these challenges that we often self-generate, but we self-generated these things through coping mechanisms to overcome trauma and suffering in our lives. Like when we were a child, we learned to hold back the energy in a certain part of the body because it wasn't safe to express it or whatever it is. That's a suffering the person has. It leads to an illness down the road. But just to like blame them for it, I don't find is a particularly helpful approach. But if we can empower them with compassion, that, this is something that was a pattern put into you a long time ago that you weren't even conscious of, and you may not be conscious of it now. If you become conscious of it, rather than trying to avoid it, like, I don't want to see that thing, if you go into it and go out the other side, that thing will turn inside out, and the hidden gift inside of it will be will be present. So when you find people with extraordinary gifts, it often came from having lost a particular fundamental function for a period of time. And then when they got it back, they were so conscious of what they had lost that they have it at a higher level. Example, Steiner talks about the way that the reason for monks taking vows of silence in the Middle Ages is that by losing that expression, that capacity, they became hyper aware of the power of speech. And so the way he describes it is they did it so they would develop magical powers of speech in future incarnations by losing it now. So we always have to see things in that larger comic context of how is this going to play out for the person over a greater span of time. And so if we see things from that perspective, we can also see that people may choose to take on certain karmic challenges that weren't even self-generated. It could be some type of health challenge that maybe they didn't generate it. It did come from the outside. Or they're put in a family situation. They didn't create that bad dynamic, but now you got to deal with it. You're stuck in the middle of it because it's like a person going to the gym and saying, I'm going to take twice as many weights on my bar as the person next to me so that I can develop that much faster than the other person. It's going to hurt. It's not going to be fun, but I'll develop faster if I do that. And sometimes this comes from, we see it sometimes as, oh, it's a person's dysfunctional, they're creating a dysfunctional life. That can certainly happen. We're not ruling that out. But there's also the aspect that some people who are very advanced spiritually, very developed, you find them having all types of horrible challenges in their lives that come from something that they took on in this lifetime to develop their strength as quickly as possible. And sometimes this actually comes from compassion within that person, that before incarnation, they chose that challenge out of compassion because they knew at a future lifetime they would need that skill that they were going to develop, that strength they would develop by going through this horrible thing at a future time to be able to help others. And if they didn't go through it now, they wouldn't have developed that skill for when they need it then. This is something that I think is a very deep spiritual concept that should give us some hesitancy in being too flippant with other people about their particular illness or other life challenges. Yes, we develop a lot of the stuff ourselves. Even so, I'm not a big fan of blaming the victim, but empowering them with understanding this can be shifted. And also understanding that in some cases, people take on these tremendous challenges in their life situation, etc., that you can see in many cases people are creating this problem in their lives because of their dysfunctional way of living. But in other cases, it's like, I don't see where this person is creating this. It's something that's coming to them, but it's to strengthen them that, whatever does not destroy me makes me stronger, right?